speaking of being brothers and all of that, I got a pass to go see Sid. Now I'm returning to visit him in Versailles. Now, he was on guard duty. He was actually in the room, what they call the war map room. They had all of these maps on all four walls. And Eisenhower and Bradley and all the bigwigs used to go in there to talk and discuss and to plan. So they had very rigid guards, not rigid guards, but rigid guard duty.
Sure.
The guards were rigid after a while, I guess. Anyway, I had to meet Sid and he was on duty. So what does a good GI do? If he doesn't eat, he sleeps.
Right.
I says, that's it. I'm going to sack out. Now, you got to realize I came in, quote, out of the field, which meant I was wearing a rumpled up uniform, clean, but rumpled. Not at all like Vogue magazine.
Right.
My brother, now being stationed with the elite, had to be spit and polished. His boots were shined, his uniforms were pressed, everything, all these insignia in place, everything was just right. So all of a sudden, now I get to Sid's place, Sid's camp, and the barracks orderly, some guy by the name of Woody, his name was Woodrow something or other, a hell of a nice kid from the South, and he says to me, "Hey, Packy Jr., he says, while your brother's on guard duty, why don't you sack out?" I says, "That's a great idea." And he points out his bunk, his cot, and I get undressed, and I climb into my brother's bunk. Needless to say, typical GI, I was out. Must have been, as soon as I closed my eyes, that was it.
Right.
Somewhere's in the sleep mode, I feel somebody shaking my body. "Get up, get up, get up." And I open my eyes, and there's this blonde face in front of me. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm saying to him, "Well, what in the hell do you want?" And he looks at me, and he says, "Are you Packman?" I says, "Yeah, what about it?" Then I realized his rank.
He thought he was Sidney.
He thought I was Sid. I guess he didn't know him. And he says to me, "Are you sure you're Packman?" So I pull out my dog tags. I says, "The last time I saw it, yeah, I'm Packman." He says, "You ain't Sidney Packman." I said, "No." I says, "That's my brother." "Sir." I began to realize his rank. So he's looking at me and he says, "What in the hell are you doing in this sack?" I says, "Well, sir, now I'm climbing out, I says, he's on guard duty. I says, and somebody suggested I sack out. He said, "Well, it was a good idea." But he says, "Get up and get out." There's an inspection in the barracks, Okay. "Yes, sir." So I left. But he couldn't believe that I was my brother's brother. He said to me, a parting shot, he says, "Your brother looks like a Swede, you look like a Mexican," which was true. Sid was blonde-haired and brown-eyed, and me, I was swarthy-skinned with black curly hair. We didn't look like brothers at all.
Yeah.
So I says to the lieutenant, I says, "My mother had friends." Well, he cracked up. He just loved it.